Rod, I think we may be looking for too many negative things from Becker and maybe losing sight of the fact that Ivan Lendl is making almost no unforced errors, is serving well, and is taking every chance that he gets.
I totally agree. Ivan has not missed a ball. He's, as I said earlier, he's floating around. He's full of anticipation. He's on every shot. He's feels like he's got about 2 or 3 different ways to go on the ground strokes. You know, he hasn't come to the net too much, but you know, he's got Boris really rattled at this moment, and you know, that slice backhand's keeping low, and of course Boris can't do anything with the topspin.
15 left.
Lendl lost just 3 points on serve in the second set, just 4 points on serve in the first set. What do you do?
Well, I'm astounded by that statistic. I wonder when last it happened to Boris Becker that he won so few points on a serve. In a set, mind you, and remember that there was a deuce set, so that all 3 of those points must have been in that game alone. All other games were won to love.
Exactly. Absolutely right.
15 all.
I think you're looking at a great champion at the moment. Ivan is timing the ball tremendously. He hasn't made an error in which way to go. He's like that last chip down the line. That's one that I think Tony Roach has taught him over the last couple of years.
15 all.
30, 15.
The ace for Becker, his 8th.
Well, we spent a lot of time last night and during the week speculating with the press, and spent a lot of time trying to give you a feel for this story of the #1 player in the world for this year. That may all be academic.
I just think on the personal aspect, besides the tennis, the confidence he has as a person now, and some of the chances we've had to talk with him, the interviews he's done this week.
30 all.
30 all. That combined with the work Roach has done with him.
See, I've always thought that Lendl is a delightful guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's just...
But he had a negative image that was created.
That's absolutely
not necessarily by him, but by his demeanor on the court.
You know, in most other professional sports, when you see a guy who spends a lot of time working on it and who develops a skill that is unmatched anywhere in the world, normally that's a case for admiring him. Well, in the case of Lendl, as you watch that replay, somehow there was a sort of a doer attitude that he seemed to be giving out, and of course that's just not him.
Passes with the backhand, and it's a deuce. Advantage Becker.
Advantage Becker.
Well, we talked about this with Vijay Amatraz the other night. Comes over to a country, learning the language, new surroundings. You have a certain demeanor on the court.
And you perceive to be something that in your heart, of course, you're not.
Right. But as we saw the interview you had with him and Jack Nicklaus and some of the personality that's come through, it's a delightful guy.
Trouble for Becker. Faced with that situation, even if it's down the middle of the court, Lendl's not going to miss that kind of a shot. Take a look at it here on the replay. Talk about efficiency of shot. Gets that one low. Becker's forced to half volley. Now Becker knows he's in trouble. He starts to make his move. Could you see it to cover that forehand from Lendl down the line? And of course Lendl went cross.
Cliff, I think that last point that with Lendl's little chip there is the difference between him 2 years ago and today. He's a more mature player. He didn't go for as much that time. 2 years ago he might have tried to blast a big passing shot. This time just chipped it short.
And Boris Becker able to win the first game of the third set. We'll return with more coverage of the finals of the Nabisco Masters right after this. Ivan Lendl, of course, the top-ranked player in the world, originally from Czechoslovakia, now makes his home in Greenwich, Connecticut, and he's disappointed with his home country because he feels the Czech Tennis Federation didn't live up to an agreement they had.
My part of the agreement was that I'm not going to play in some countries where they ask me not to play, and I will pay them some fees, and I will play Davis Cup for them and all that, and I did it for 2.5 years, and from their part, what they were supposed to do, they didn't do anything.
It was a very emotional soundbite from Ivan Lendl.
There is some bitterness, quite
Yes.
obviously, but in his feelings towards Czechoslovakia. Now, it comes through clearly. He's obviously still at heart probably feels very, very wonderfully about the country that he came from, but he also feels very pro-American, and he makes that known too. Part of that interview, I also asked him if he would love to play Davis Cup for the USA, and he said, there's nothing I would enjoy more.
But can't.
But can't. Because of the rules. If you play Davis Cup for another country, then the rules don't allow you to play for a second country, and he has, of course, played Davis Cup for Czechoslovakia. Apart from that, he is not yet an immigrant, official immigrant into this country. He plans to take that out, his green card, and it takes him 5 years after that just to apply for citizenship.
Lives in Greenwich, Connecticut, less than an hour drive from New York, loves to play in New York City, and I think it's very important to him that in the not too distant future, that he'd be accepted in this country, in New York, as a player, first of all, as we all know, with a lot of ability, but also somebody who thinks a lot of this country, as you said. And I don't know if that's quite been there yet. As a great tennis player, no question. But at some point in time, the nationality part gets involved, too. Once again, Lendl's had 6 love service games, 2 won at 40-15, 1 at 40-30, and 1 go to deuce coming into this second game of the third set. And the ace for Ivan Lendl, his 5th. He's hesitant, isn't he, Rod? He just doesn't seem to have the reactions this evening.
I guess when it rains, it pours, because there was one that he had some sort of a chance at, but it ticked the top of the tape. But Ivan is really pouring it on now. He's playing very confident, and that topspin backhand, it's really flowing, and it's very stingy. It's getting up very quickly, and